What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Bowie here. This video about to be heavy today, because in this video I'm about to talk about Osama bin Laden's letter to America and why it's important that every American read that letter. Now, before I get into any of the details, I want to make my position crystal fucking clear. I do not support bin Laden, Al Qaeda, any terrorist organization. Period. I do not think bin Laden was right to attack America. I don't think any terrorist group is right to kill innocent civilians. I'm gonna make that crystal clear right the fuck now, so that nobody can sit here and say, oh, I'm a terrorist sympathizer. No, the fuck I'm not. No. By the same token, terrorism is equally wrong when America does it, because the American government is the largest purveyor of global terrorism. Period. We are the largest exporter of terrorism. We are the largest manufacturer of terrorism. Our government engages in terrorism, and it creates terrorist groups with its actions and policies. So, just like it's wrong when a pseudo-Islamic group does terrorism, it's equally wrong when our government does terrorism and our allies do terrorism. All of that shit is equally wrong. And so you're not going to get me to support America either when it engages in terrorism. Now, I'm using this word terrorism. I want to give a crystal clear definition of what it is. So, terrorism is the use of violence against civilians or innocents for political or religious reasons. Period. So, if you do violence for political/religious reasons against innocent people, you're a terrorist. Straight up and down. Now, terrorism is not limited to a particular religion. See, typically, when Americans hear the word terrorist, they think of Muslims. But I'm here to tell you that terrorists come in all kind of different religions. There are Christian terrorists, there are Jewish terrorists, there are obviously Muslim terrorists, but I would make the argument that no matter what quote unquote religion these terrorists claim to be abiding by, given the fact that all these religions base themselves on peaceful coexistence with the people that occupy this planet with you, none of them are actually representing their proclaimed religion. They're all capping it. It's all bullshit. That's why I referred to Al Qaeda as a pseudo-Islamic terrorist group, because Islam is about peace. Christianity is about peace. Judaism is about peace. And any other religion, every other religion on this planet, as far as I know, is all about peace. It does not promote violence of any kind. Now, religions will tell you that, hey, you can defend yourself. And if you got to use violence to defend yourself under imminent threat, then yeah, do that. But ain't none of them advocating for the kind of violence that these terrorist groups are doing. Whether it's Al Qaeda, Hamas, ISIL, ISIS, Taliban, doesn't matter. Our American mercenary groups, our American government, CIA, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So, let me give, first and foremost, let me give somewhat of a context. Because I have students that were not born during the events of 9/11. And so they don't even know why this is important. So, I mean, this is a very long and complicated history. But the story of Osama bin Laden kind of began in the 80s, really, because, and I don't want to get any of the details of this wrong, so I'm going to be general. But basically, we were fighting. Well, yeah, America was engaged in a Cold War with the Soviet Union, Russia, right? And Russia was trying to occupy various parts of the Middle East. Obviously, because our government wanted to be ops for Russia, one of the things that our government does is it supports the little guy that's fighting against the entity that it doesn't like. So it was fighting against a group, and if I'm not mistaken, they were known as the Mujahideen. I'm probably mispronouncing it. Might not even be the right name. But the point is, Osama bin Laden was the leader of that group. And so America supported him and that group against the Soviet Union back in the 80s during Ronald Reagan. Okay? And Osama bin Laden is wealthy, and he was educated in the U.S., if I'm not mistaken. And so our country showed him favoritism back then, right? But we had other policies that we were engaging in the Middle East ourselves through direct action or indirect action, supporting dictators, overthrowing governments, supporting, violent governments and things of that nature. And so Osama's group eventually formed into what would be known as Al-Qaeda. And in 2001, on September 11th, Al-Qaeda hijacked two airplanes, actually several airplanes, and flew them into the Twin Towers in New York City and into the Pentagon, killing thousands of Americans. It was a horrible day. The year 2001 was a particularly trash year for me. Personally, my mom had went to jail. I was being forcibly moved from New York to Georgia. I had no idea what the hell was going on. Aaliyah had died that year, and that was a pretty big deal. So we were just sad all the way around. And then this shit happens, 9/11. I didn't even have time to really process what the hell was going on. Plus I was 13, 12, going on 13. I didn't really appreciate the gravity of what all had happened. You know what I'm saying? Wasn't even enrolled in school yet, I don't think. Or maybe I was, but I forget. But point is, that year was already trying personally for a lot of reasons, and then that happens. And turned out it was a trying year for the entire nation. And so I have very clear memories of 9/11. I also remember the narrative that was spun about 9/11 and why this happened. Because the obvious question is, why would we be attacked by terrorists? The narrative was these terrorists hated freedom. They hate America. For no reason. They just woke up one day and decided they didn't like what we stood for. These are Islamic terrorists, and so it's their religion and their hatred of America that makes them that made them do this. Now, this was pretty much fed from the top down from then President George W. Bush. Now, as he was doing this, President Bush tried to walk the needle back a little bit by trying to urge Americans, hey, don't hate against regular Muslim people. Regular Muslims are perfectly decent people. But by then it was too late. He had just pretty much created Islamophobia in the US, and that Islamophobia has never went away. To this day, when we see people in turbans and beards, even though a lot of the people that wear that stuff aren't even Muslim, you know, we get nervous. We think of them as terrorists. You know what I'm saying? And there was never a full examination of why, not a truthful one anyway. And so that's where this letter to America comes into play. See, a couple days ago on TikTok, you know, some videos had popped up from, you know, young Americans that were born after 9/11 that had read Osama bin Laden's letter to America. And they expressed being shocked and dismayed and being, you know, disillusioned with America. Not because they agreed with Osama bin Laden, not because they thought he was right or that he was justified, but because they realized that they had been lied to about the reasons why 9/11 happened. They realized that the narrative that this country spun about, you know, Islamic terrorists was cap. And so that's what they were expressing on TikTok. They were expressing disappointment. They were expressing going through an existential crisis, not knowing how to feel about this country that they love and have lived in, where we've grown up in a post-terrorism world and environment, not even knowing fully why the terrorists did what they did to begin with. Well, we thought we knew why because our government told us, the president told us. They just hate us. They hate our freedom. They hate what we represent, you know, and it's tied to their religion somehow. They're jihadists. And so these angry, religious, brown-skinned people with this weird religion that we don't rock with, they're inherently dangerous, is the message that we got. And turns out that's not even the vast majority of the story. Now, it's true, their interpretation of their religion has made them violent. And they tie their violence in with religion in very much the same way that, you know, far right wingers tie in Christianity to their acts of terrorism here in the US. It's the same shit. It's exactly the same thing. The only difference is the skin color and the chosen religion, right? But what makes the Islamic stuff with Al-Qaeda distinct is that it turns out they have a very easily documented set of grievances that America's directly responsible for. In other words, they ain't attack us for no reason. They attacked us for very pointed, directed reasons. And those reasons are detailed in Osama's letter to America. I'm going to read them to you now. So some of this is just religious bullshit, so I'm going to skip all that. So this is part of the letter. It says, while seeking Allah's help, we form our reply based on two questions directed at the Americans. Question 1, why are we fighting and opposing you? Question 2, what are we calling you to, and what do you want? What do we want from you? As for the first question, why are we fighting and opposing you? The answer is very simple. 1, because you attacked us and continue to attack us. You attacked us in Palestine. Palestine, which has sunk under military occupation for more than 80 years. The British handed over Palestine with your help and support to the Jews, who have occupied it for more than 50 years. He's referring to the Israeli government. Years overflowing with oppression, tyranny, crimes, killing, expulsion, destruction, and devastation. The creation and continuation of Israel is one of the greatest crimes, and you are the leaders of its criminals. And of course, there is no need to explain and prove the degree of American support for Israel. The creation of Israel is a crime which must be erased. I ain't gonna talk about all that right there because that's starting to get into some religious bullshit. So, 2, it brings us both laughter and tears to see that you have not yet tired of repeating your fabricated lies that the Jews have a historical right to Palestine, as it was promised to them in the Torah. Anyone who disputes with them on this alleged fact is accused of anti-Semitism. This is one of the most fallacious, widely circulated fabrications in history. The people of Palestine are pure Arabs and original Semites. It is the Muslims who are the inheritor of Moses. It's more religious bullshit. When the Muslims conquered Palestine and drove out the Romans, Palestine and Jerusalem returned to Islam. Therefore, the call to a historical right to Palestine cannot be raised against the Islamic Ummah, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so that's just one of the reasons. So, and it ties in directly with what we see today. Right now, the Israeli government is attacking the Palestinian people, which it is occupying. The Israeli government is occupying Palestine, or occupying Palestinian territory, bombing hospitals, killing civilians, because a quote-unquote pro-Palestinian terrorist group known as Hamas committed an act of terror. And so, again, I do not support Hamas or any actions that Hamas takes, and the vast majority of people do not support Hamas, even those of us that think Palestinians have a right to be free of oppression and have a right to an autonomous government free from Israeli rule. You know what I'm saying? We don't fuck with Hamas. We don't fuck with terrorist groups, period. Right? But we also acknowledge that that terrorist group only came about because of Israeli occupation of Palestine, wherein, the Israeli government committed every possible atrocity against the Palestinian people that they could think to do. Crime, death, raping, pillaging, murder, terrorism, everything. That's what the Israeli government is doing to the Palestinian people. This breeds terrorists, because everybody ain't gonna be peaceful while their villages are getting blown up and their relatives are being killed. Some people gonna fight back. They gonna be like, you know what, fuck this. We tried being peaceful. They don't understand peace, so we gonna fight their ass back. And you know what? I don't necessarily blame them for that sentiment, but again, the way they execute that sentiment is where me and so many other people firmly draw the line, because we not gonna support no goddamn killing of innocents. You want to target this Israeli government and the Israeli military? Do your thing, fight on the battlefield, right? But when you start killing innocents, now you fucked up. Now we can't rock with you. We can't support you. You know what I'm saying? Straight up. But anyway, let's get back to this letter. So, Part B, you attacked us in Somalia. You supported the Russian atrocities against us in Chechnya, the Indian oppression against us in Kashmir, and the Jewish aggression against us in Lebanon. Under your supervision, consent, and orders, the government of our countries, which act as your agents, attack us on a daily basis. These governments prevent our people from establishing Islam, using violence and lies to do so. These governments give us a taste of humiliation and place us in a large prison of fear and subdual. These governments steal our Ummah's wealth, they're talking about oil, and sell them to you at a paltry price. These governments have surrendered to the Jews and handed them most of Palestine, acknowledging the existence of their state over the dismembered limbs of their own people. The removal of these governments is an obligation upon us and a necessary step to regain Palestine. And our fight against these governments is not separate from our fight against you. You steal our wealth and oil at paltry prices because of your international influence and military threats. This theft is indeed the biggest theft ever witnessed by mankind in the history of the world. Your forces occupy our countries. You spread your military bases throughout them. You corrupt our lands and you besiege our sanctities to protect the security of the Jews and to ensure the continuity of your pillage of our treasures. You have starved the Muslims of Iraq, where children die every day. It is a wonder that more than 1.5 million Iraqi children have died as a result of your sanctions, and you did not show concern. Yet when 3,000 of your people died, the entire world rises and has not yet sat down. So again, this so-called terrorist that just hates us so much is referencing actual American policies as reasons for why they attack. He referenced the war in Iraq, which was bullshit. And the fact that our government sanctioned Iraq and caused millions of people to starve and die. Millions of Arabic and Muslim children to starve and die. We're committing atrocities. Our government is. You know what I'm saying? And people don't forget that shit. Not to mention, our government supports all these ops of, Osama and the Palestinian people. So anyone that has a beef with the Palestinians, whether it's in India or in Somalia or any of the other places, America's always seeming to be supporting the people that have beef with the Palestinians. So what I'm saying to you is, if our government would mind its fucking business and stop fucking with these people, stop occupying their lands, stop stealing their oil, stop propping up military bases all over the goddamn place in places where they don't need to be. We have 1,000 military bases all over the world. We don't need all of that. It's unnecessary. You know what I'm saying? We need a military big enough to defend ourselves. And we more than have that. We don't need a global military force everywhere across the globe occupying, Muslim lands and stuff like that, and occupying Russian lands and occupying North Korean lands and all this kind of stuff. This is a pattern that our country engages in. Like, we talk about the fact that North Korea be testing bombs and stuff like that and making uranium and trying to make a nuke. But what we don't talk about is how American drills over the South North Korean border provoke these people into making these nukes and these bombs and all this kind of stuff. We keep egging them on. We do military drills where we fly our jets directly over their airspace. They don't know what the fuck we about to do. But these other countries know what the American military does to countries it doesn't like. They know that our government drops bombs in Muslim countries. They know that we do predator drones and airstrikes and stuff like that. They know what our government does. And so when we fly over provoking them, they're like, look, we got to defend ourselves. I have the controversial opinion that maybe the American government shouldn't do that. Maybe if we didn't do that, we wouldn't create a list of terrorist groups that do acts of terror against us. You know what I'm saying? And when I say controversial, I'm being tongue in cheek like a motherfucker. Like, it's not controversial at all. Most people agree with me. They would not support. They do not support these actions. You know what I'm saying? But they don't know that this is what our government does. Our media lies to us and tells us that these people are just evil just cause they just mad because they're communists or they're Muslims or they're terrorists or they're this or they're that. And that's what makes them hate us. No, we be fucking with them. That's the problem. We be trying to bully these people, take their stuff, and newsflash, people don't like to be bullied and have their things stolen from them. Go figure, you know? Now, let me see. I'm trying to get here. Oh, let me read some more of this. You have supported the Jews in their idea that Jerusalem is their eternal capital and agreed to move your embassy there. Trump did that, by the way. Trump did that. With your help and under the protection, the Israelis are planning to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Under the protection of your weapons, Sharon, I don't know, entered that mosque to pollute it as a preparation to capture and destroy it. You know what I'm saying? These tragedies and calamities are only a few examples of your oppression and aggression against us. It is commanded by our religion and intellect that the oppressed have a right to return the aggression. Is it in any way rational to expect that after America has attacked us for more than a half a century, we will then leave her to leave in peace and security? So in other words, we hit them first. They're hitting back. Okay? And not only did we hit them one time, and when I say we, I mean the American government. We hit them mad times. Mad times. In a bunch of different ways over decades. In a bunch of different ways. You understand? Our government keeps fucking with them. And so 9/11 was how they struck back. Okay? Now, here's where the terrorists lose me. Because here's another part of the letter. You may then dispute that the above does not justify aggression against civilians for crimes that they did not commit and offenses in which they did not partake. This argument contradicts your continuous repetition that America is the land of freedom and its leaders in this world. Therefore, the American people are the ones who choose their government by way of their own free will, a choice which stems from their agreement to its policies. Thus, the American people have chosen, consented to, and affirmed their support for the Israeli oppression of the Palestinians, the land and usurpation of their land, occupation and usurpation of their land, and its continuous killing, torture, and expulsion of the Palestinians. And the American people have the ability and choice to refuse the policies in the government and even to change it if they want. The American people are the ones who pay the taxes, which fund the planes that bomb us in Afghanistan, the tanks that strike and destroy our homes in Palestine, the arguments which occupy our lands in the Arabian Gulf, and the fleets which ensure the blockade of Iraq. These tax dollars are given to Israel for it to continue to attack us and penetrate our lands. So the American people are the ones who fund the attacks against us, and they are the ones who oversee the expenditure of these monies in the way that they wish through their elected candidates. That was part B. There's a part C and D. I'm going to skip that. I'm just going to get to part E. This is why the American people cannot be innocent of all the crimes committed against us by the Americans, or committed by the Americans and Jews against us. Now, there is some truth to this, but honestly, it ain't all the way true. Yes, American tax dollars fund a lot of this bullshit, but American people do not choose how our elected officials fund anything. There's a lot that we are not aware of and do not choose that our government just does. The way that they get us on board is by lying about what they're doing and lying about the reasons why they do it, which is why this letter is so important to begin with. We have been deceived as Americans. We were told that these Islamic terrorists hated us for no reason, and this attack was planned, but it was random at the same time. Very carefully orchestrated and planned out, but done for a nebulous ass reason. Nah, hell nah, wasn't no nebulous reason. It was done because our government kept fucking with them people, taking their stuff, doing all the things that, were laid out in this letter. You know what I'm saying? Now, so they have a reason to fight back. I'm not saying they're justified. I'm just saying they have a reason. They have something that they can point to that says, hey, this is why we're doing this. Because of you. Not because we hate the idea of your existence, but because you keep threatening our existence. But once you start crossing that line into, justifying killing innocents, now I can't fuck with you. Now I can't support you. Because I could agree with the sentiment of, hey, our government shouldn't be funding terrorists. Our government shouldn't be supporting Israel. Our government shouldn't be occupying Arabic and Iraqi lands and all this. Our government shouldn't be doing any of the things that were laid out in this letter. I agree with all of that part of what Osama was saying. But I can't agree with you turning around talk about some, we finna kill civilians because you killed ours. Nah. Now you a terrorist. Just like our government was a terrorist. We don't fuck with terrorism. And then, there is a lot of religious stuff about how America needs to turn to Islam and, banish homosexuals and all this kind of shit. Nah, we don't fuck with none of that. No. Best I could agree to is that we stay in our lane over here. Y'all stay in y'all lane over there. Our government does legitimate business with the Arabic nations to get oil and stuff like that. And that's all the business that we have in that region of the world. We withdraw all of our troops, our military bases, all that shit from that region. We get rid of all that shit. That's what I would agree to. And humanitarian efforts to rebuild that region of the world that we have helped destroy in all those countries, I would agree to all of that. The government owes a lot of reparations to a lot of brown-skinned people. Whether that's black people, Native Americans, Spanish, everybody. You know what I'm saying? And definitely to the Arabs of the Muslim world in the Middle East. In all those various countries. So our government owes that to them, because our government helped destroy those regions. It's only right that we help rebuild. You know what I'm saying? But that about it. Ain't gonna be no, oh, you killed ours, so we kill yours. Nah, hell nah. We don't rock with that. We don't rock with that at all. Again, as I said at the top of this video, I do not support any form of terrorism by any group of people, whether they be pseudo-Islamic terrorists or various government agencies or the American government itself, whether it be through a president or any part of the executive slash judicial slash legislative branch. I don't give no fuck who it is. I don't care who they are, what religion they claim. Don't matter what skin color they are. Ain't no terrorism around here. None. You ain't gonna get no support, no love from me from any of that. I don't support wrongdoing of any kind. So our government needs to fix this problem that it created. And we fix it by helping to rebuild what we destroyed. But before we can even do that, we need to tell the truth about what the fuck happened. We need to tell the truth about why those people attacked us. Tell the truth about what the hell we're doing over there for real. Because, truth be told, our government is in that region of the world to steal their oil and poppy and maintain dominance and control. And we need to be honest about that. See, I know that because I read. But the vast majority of Americans do not know this. They think that we're over there fighting for freedom because that's what we were told. But our media lied to us. Our government was never about fighting for freedom of any kind. Oh yeah, we'll certainly fight against terrorist groups that are oppressing towns out there and certain villages and shit. Yeah, we'll do that. But that's incidental. That's not the reason that we're over there. Why our soldiers, our young boys and girls are deployed overseas. We ain't over there being heroes against terrorism. That's not why we're there. All that shit is cap. And the so-called terrorists understand this and they know this. And that's why this letter was important. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that this letter was censored and this video could get taken down or demonetized just because I'm telling the truth, even though I said I'm not supporting none of the motherfucking terrorists on here, that's a problem. This video could get taken down. I could get flagged for this. You know what I'm saying? But I don't care because I'm telling the truth and I'm not showing any kind of support to any of these terrorists. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So anyway, all in all, this video's gotten kind of long, but I just want to say a couple things. For one, history is important, y'all. Mad important. Don't skip out on them history classes, all right? And do the background research to know what the hell history is important and why it's important. Because it helps inform why things are the way they are in this world today. So that's one of the things. A second thing is, don't be believing the media, at least not blindly anyway. When you hear NBC News or ABC or any of the cable news networks give reasons as to why some shit is happening, do the research yourself. But I'm not talking about going to damn a right-wing source or a left-wing source to get your media. Don't go to no goddamn InfoWars or nothing like that. I'm talking about go to them fact checkers. You're better off looking up foreign news outlets. I'm talking about like Indian outlets and maybe not British, but they're a little bit more objective than we are. But maybe Canadian, you know, well, maybe not Mexican because it's going to be in Spanish. But, you know, if you look up foreign news outlets and read their reporting on what the issues are in America, we'll get a much more objective reality of what the hell's going on, and a much more truthful account of current events and why they're happening. You know what I'm saying? But don't just be blindly believing presidents and politicians and news outlets, because they gonna lie. Just like they lied to us about the reasons for 9/11 happening. You know what I'm saying? But most importantly, read the letter and learn a lesson that it's wise to listen to so-called enemies. It doesn't mean that you believe everything that they have to say or that you entertain everything that they have to say, but at least hearing them out is vitally important. You know, one of the reasons why it's important for us to read this letter to America is so that we can know not only why 9/11 happened, but understand how we can prevent it from happening again. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's important. But anyway, that's been my thoughts on bin Laden's letter to America. Y'all be easy. Peace.